I'm not an overthinker. I'm a doer. I decide fast, move fast, and pivot if I need to mid-motion. My brain can be whirring, sure, experiments, ideas, angles, what I want to test next, but it's not sat there chewing on whether I'm allowed to take that next step, which is great a lot of the time, but sometimes it lands me in trouble. And here's what you're going to uncover in this week's podcast episode: why overthinking isn't insight, it's a threat loop that blocks action. The body tells that you're overthinking even when you look productive. The 4 different overthinking types, so worry, rumination, paralysis, and social looping. What's happening in your brain and why overwhelm multiplies tabs. A 60 to 90 second body first reset to break the spiral fast. The 4Ds plan to turn chaos into that one next step that you need. And RAT, reorganize, adjust, and take action. And this type of action-orientated approach is exactly why I love my male clients. Sorry ladies, but you know it's true. Not because men are magically better humans, they're really not. Or because I dislike my ladies, I just have to be in a whole different mode before the session begins. And like clockwork, the first words out of my ladies' clients' mouths are usually something like, so I know I said I do XYZ, but then ABC happened, and I didn't know whether it was right. Or, when I was with you, it all made sense, but when I tried to do it on my own, I didn't understand it. And when I ask, okay, well, what didn't you understand? They explain the tool perfectly, because they did understand. What happened was their nervous system just panicked at the moment of action, and then their brain did what it always does when it thinks they're about to be judged, rejected, or embarrassed. It hit the brakes. So we run through things again, confidence returns, and we move on to the tools for the next week and practice it together so they know what they're doing. And again, everything runs smoothly. They get clarity, they commit to the next step, and then they leave feeling as though they can take on the world single-handedly. And then the cycle happens all over again. The lads, they make a decision, come back next week, ready for the next step. Sometimes they come back like, yep, I did ABC and then I decided to do DEF and GHI as well. They use the tool, then they use it again and again and again. And don't get me wrong, almost everybody does see a huge improvement in the way that they're experiencing life in the first 4 weeks. But the lads, their drop in symptoms is way more dramatic. And thankfully, by about week 8, it does kind of even out. And this hasn't got anything to do with biology, hormones, or the lads doing anything differently per se, but more because the women take longer to actually start trusting themselves. And that's actually the whole point of this week's episode. So you see, overthinking isn't thinking too much. It's not depth, it's not insight, it's not you being so self-aware you're doing a TED talk in your head with slides and a laser pointer. It's fear-based looping. And overthinking is what happens when your attention system screams, this matters, but your action system can't get its ass off the sofa. So you do what all high-functioning women do best. You rehash the conversation, replay all the mistakes, pre-live every possible outcome, and try to think your way into certainty. And it feels like you're doing something, like you're progressing. But if it was working, you'd have moved already and the problem would no longer be an issue. And people think overthinking looks like somebody sat down aimlessly staring into space. Not so much. Most of the time it looks like inaction for days, weeks, months on the thing you absolutely need to do right now to fix the mess you found yourself in. Or busy work, so tidying, researching, planning, reorganizing, getting ready, redecorating, nipping to the food shop because you must try that Instagram recipe. Or magpie energy, collecting shiny ideas, never building the thing, doing the thing, or figuring out a way of the thing that has you trapped. And in a nutshell, if you're always doing but the needle never moves, that's not productivity. That's avoidance, wearing the latest trends topped off with a new haircut and a facial. Online, overthinking gets treated like one cute little personality quirk, and in reality, it's a label people use for different problems. So worry loops, future what-if catastrophes, or rumination, past-focused replay and self-attack, or decision paralysis, so choice fatigue, analysis paralysis, and finally, or social overthinking, so mind reading, reassurance seeking, and post-combo cringe. And the problem is they're not the same. It's like saying cars which are electric, petrol, diesel, and hydrogen powered are all the same. They may all be cars, but they run on completely different engines. And if you don't look under the bonnet to see what's really going on, you'll keep using the wrong tool, and then you'll just decide that you're broken. So here's what's happening in your system when you're overthinking. The trigger event. A small moment gets tagged as dangerous, a mistake, an awkward interaction, a decision with no perfect answer, and your brain reads it as, this could cost me, status, safety, or belonging. Fear spike. Your body spikes first, tight chest, stomach drop, buzzy energy, and the this matters alarm turns up and clear thinking gets harder. Looping thought. So your mind starts running laps, replaying, predicting, mind reading, rewiring, and it feels like problem solving, but it's actually mental pacing. There is some short-term relief, so looping gives a tiny hint of relief because it feels like you're handling it. Your nervous system rewards the habit with a momentary drop in anxiety. And the long-term cost? It drains you. Sleep gets wrecked, your gut gets weird, focus disappears, and you get snappy or needy. And the loop leaks into your behaviour and your relationships. And more vulnerability means more looping. And now you're tired, stressed, hormonal, inflamed, overstimulated, so your alarm system is even more sensitive. Lower threshold means more triggers, which in turn means more looping, and this time much faster. So I'm going to level with you. Most of my clients aren't thinking anything poetic when stuff's going wrong. It's usually some variation of, what will XYZ think of this? Or I'm not good enough, or I don't know enough, or what if it doesn't work? Oh, and in case you're wondering, that isn't intuition. That's your threat system trying to keep you safe by keeping you still, because no matter how uncomfortable things are for you right now, in your mind is way safer than the unknown, which becomes a very real possibility when you actually start taking action. Stuck in a bad dream is way safer than potentially falling into a full-blown nightmare. And here's what's happening inside your brain. So you've basically got your executive control network. So kind of think of it like the do the thing network. So focus, planning, and decisions are all made here. You've got your default mode network. This is your think about your whole life network. So self-referential thoughts, past or future, and mind wandering. And then your salience network, which is kind of like your this is important alarm. And it's a system that decides what's going to get your attention. And when you're regulated, these systems act like the polite and cultured among us who see two people in a line and just naturally join the back of the queue. All very quintessentially British. But when you're stressed, underslept, in pain, inflamed, hormonal, or emotionally activated, the system gets loud. And that's when the think about your whole life network starts barging in the same way people cause complete mayhem for a cut price TV on Boxing Day or Black Friday. Normally reserved and well-respected individuals behave like they've just undergone a personality transplant and have dived headfirst into a giant angry mosh pit at a death metal concert, which is all conveniently happening while you're trying to focus. So instead of one clean thought that leads to one clean action, you get mental noise and overwhelm. And overwhelm, it's like overthinking's evil twin. Louder, messier, and convinced everything is urgent. And overthinking is usually like one topic looping. Overwhelm is when the loop multiplies. Tabs start breeding and your ECN, so the do the thing network, basically gets shoved out of the driver's seat. Your salience networks keeps yelling important, important, important at everything. Your DMN starts dragging in your entire life story for context, and suddenly you're not deciding anything, you're just bracing. And that's when you get the classic symptoms. So decision paralysis, busy work, snapping at people you love, and the weird urge to reorganize a drawer instead of sending that email. Not because you're lazy or dramatic, but because your system's overloaded and your brain has switched from solve mode to survive mode. Translation, you can't outthink an over-aroused nervous system. And here's my 60 to 90 second body first reset. And this is what I actually do. So if you're spiraling, please don't start with journaling or meditation. Start with your physiology. So step number 1, EFT tapping. So tap through the 8 basic points like Gary Craig style. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. And if you want a simple phrase to kick things off while you tap, try this one. Even though I'm scared to do this, I'm safe enough to take one step. Step number 2, future journaling. So write 3 quick lines as if the thing is already handled. So life is like this now that it's fixed, or I feel, or I'm doing. This isn't manifesting, this is giving your nervous system a map. Step number 3, ask for the first step, like literally ask, like what is my first step? And most importantly, listen and be open to the answer. So sometimes it's an intuitive nudge. Sometimes it's a line you hear on the radio. Sometimes it's the exact thing that pops up on your social media feed. Sometimes it's a sentence in a book that practically slaps you in the face with a fish in the same way Monty Python did back in the day. Call it intuition, call it pattern recognition, or your reticular activating system. It really doesn't matter. If it's aligned and it's actionable, it counts. And most importantly, do the step, and then repeat. And if you're struggling to get going, here's the 4 sneaky rewards that will be keeping you stuck. But just a little note before I spill the beans. Now, I know everyone loves a label. I literally did a post about psychopathy the other week and begged people to stop labeling others. And somebody dropped in the comments that labels are helpful. Yes, I did take the opportunity to go through the science, because the science has repeatedly shown for at least half a century that they really are not. So please hear me when I tell you overthinking is not your identity. It's just a habit that you accidentally reward. And it usually pays you in one of these ways, so a false sense of control. So if I analyze it enough, I can control it. Or perfectionism as safety. So if I find the perfect move, I can't be hurt. Uncertainty, intolerance. So I need to know how this ends. Or the illusion of important work. So energy burned equals progress. Right? Wrong. So the problem is the bill arrives later with a whopping great surcharge that you were not expecting, because your sleep gets wrecked, your guts get weird, your focus disappears, you get snappy, and you avoid the thing that you actually need to do. And also, FYI, one of the most useless bits of advice I hear is just trust the universe, which sounds cool and like you're plugged into the most evolved person on the planet, but you do need to dig the hole, because the ground doesn't just magically grow legs and then shift out of the way. You still have to be the one who puts the effort in with the spade. And yes, sometimes you'll head to the shop thinking I don't have the cash, and then find the money in your pocket from the last time you went out. And yes, sometimes you'll get there and the spades are all half price. That is how life works. But you still had to get your ass off the sofa and go to the shop. You got to meet the universe at least halfway. And here's my overwhelm antidote. So the 4 Ds when you need a plan, not a pep talk. Once your body is downshifted, give your brain a job that it can actually complete to help stop you falling back into the overthinking and overwhelm trap, and start your body pumping out your dopamine, which is your reward hormone, because getting your dopamine pumping feeds back into your system and enables you to do the next thing and the next thing and the next. Oh, and if you're wondering, yes, this is exactly why my lad clients end up moving faster than the ladies in the beginning. It's all about the dopamine trigger. And just remember, dopamine has a really short half-life and is out of your system after between 1 and 5 minutes, which is why you only feel great for what feels like a fraction of a second after completing something. So ready for the 4 Ds as your overwhelm antidote? First up, number 1, dump it. So externalize the chaos. Do a 3-minute brain dump. Everything you're worried about, everything you think you should do, every task you're carrying for other people. Second step, dice it. Make it stupidly small. So turn sort my life out into open laptop, find the email, write the first sentence. Your nervous system doesn't need the whole mountain. It just needs the next foothold. Step 3, decide. Important over urgent. Pick the one thing that matters the most. The one thing you're going to say no to or delay. Step 4, do one. Just first 1%. Do the first tiny step, not the whole thing, just enough to unjam your system. And here's you can tell what if it's working based on what I see in real humans. Because when my clients stop looping and start moving, it's not subtle. Their to-do list starts shrinking way faster than those pesky ice caps. Their entire demeanor shifts and they physically show up to each session differently. Posture straighter, head held higher, calmer tone, pitch and pacing to their words. Smiling and laughing come way more easily and naturally. Eyes no longer darting around and avoiding contact. Thoughts strung together coherently and responses sharpened. And this happens not by accident or luck, but because they put in the work and they are no longer carrying 47 open loops in their body. And if you forget everything else in this post, remember RAT. RAT stands for recognize, adjust, and take action. So recognize the rumination loop, adjust the nervous system, so tap, breathe, and move, and then take one next step. I get it. It's really not sexy. There's no magic click your fingers twice while rubbing a sacred crystal 30-second trick, but it works, and boy is RAT memorable. So want me to tell you your overthinking flavor for free? Now, if you're a high functioning woman who's fine on paper but fried inside, stop raw dogging your nervous system and then acting surprised when your brain won't cooperate. Take the happiness archetype test. It's 100% free, and you'll get an archetype based 7-day fast reset, also free, so you know exactly where to start without stumbling into self-help purgatory, and the links in the show notes below.